Hey friends, welcome back to Watavue Mountain. As you can see, not at the mountain today, but that's okay. It's still a beautiful, glorious day. God is great. I mean, look, the sun is shining. You hear the bugs chirping in the background. Absolutely great day. We're back in suburbia. We got some projects we got to do here that are for the mountain. So yeah, so stick around. Let's see what we're getting into today. So thanks for coming. Thanks for checking us out. It's really, like I always say, it's an absolute blessing for us to be able to do these things and be able to share them with you. So yeah, as always, enough of me rambling. Get yourself something to drink today. It's still coffee and water for me today because it's early and it's already starting to get warm. So sit back, relax, and enough of me rambling. Let's get to business. Alright, so what's the task at hand today? Sorry, it's a little echoey. As you can see, we're in the garage. You gotta excuse the mess, but back and forth between the mountain, we got lots of supplies and maintenance equipment, all kinds of stuff we take back and forth. But I digress. The task at hand today. Dumpster diving. We found this door at a construction site. Of course, we asked permission if we could get it, but we found the door. It's an exterior door, and it does not have a frame. So it's not a pre-hung door. It's a door that needs a frame built for it. Of course, you know, I scoured YouTube looking for videos on how to build a frame for an exterior door. And there are plenty out there. There's quite a few. However, most of the fellas that are doing it have these big elaborate workshops with all kinds of tools and dado machine. I mean, just crazy equipment that I don't have. So what we're going to do today is we're going to attempt, I'm not going to say we're going to do it because I've never done this, just like everything else in this journey with the mini cabin, but I'm going to attempt to do this with just a circular saw, and I have a small job site table saw. Of course, the usual stuff, the nail gun and a screwdriver, but that's it. So kind of minimal tools, and we'll see if we can get this thing put together. So I already went and bought stuff. Dexter's going to supervised today, but I bought some pressure treated 1x3s over there, a couple that will go along the sides, and then one that I'm going to rip down in half to kind of make the front. You'll see that the kind of the stop for the door, if you will. Of course, I bought some new hardware because this door did not have any hardware. Threshold that will be interesting for us to figure out, and then as you see, I bought some weather stripping as well. So really, I think I'm about $80 in altogether so far on this door, not including the screws. I don't know, maybe that was another 20 bucks. Let's call it 100 bucks just to make it even. So about 100 bucks in, aside from the equipment that I already have. Of course, I already have the job site table saw and the circular saw and the drill, but other than that, 100 bucks in, and the cheapest exterior door I could find was $280 at one of the big box stores, and that one didn't have a window. It was just a plain panel door, and it was $280. So I figured, well, you know what? I spent 100 bucks. We'll give this a try. Maybe we'll learn something together, and if it works, great. If it doesn't, well, then I can always go back and get that ugly-looking pre-hung door. So let me get some stuff spread out here and try to figure out where we're going to start, and then we'll go from there. Just to give you kind of the rough idea of what I'm talking about, right? So we're going to put those 1x3s up along the side. Now, of course, we got to measure and cut these to length, and then I'll cut that 1x3 down to size. This one here, I'll cut that down to size so it fits right across here. So let me grab the tape measure and see what we're going to do. First things first, we got to measure this door out, right? And see how long we're going with this door. So from the bottom to the top, we are right at 79 inches, okay? So we know though that we got to leave a little extra space for this top member that's going to go across. So we're going to say 79 inches plus, we know these aren't an inch wide, right? We've talked about this before, 3/4 of an inch wide. So we're going to go 79 and 3/4 on this board, But actually, I'm gonna go a little longer because with that prefab threshold, I think it's gonna fit the entire space of the door, and then we can bring the side frame all the way down to that. So I'm actually gonna go 79 3/4. So we're gonna go 80.5 inches. Right, is that right? Measure twice, cut once, right? So really that's 79.25. So there you go. That's why I measured twice, 79.25. So we add 3/4, that takes us to 80. Add another 1/2 inch, 80.5. So 80.5. So here you see that was my 80.5 inch mark right here. And that's got to be at least, I don't know, what, 2 inches short. Like I said, I'd rather leave it a little bit long than a little bit short. So let's cut this, we'll fit this again, and make sure we're on the right track after I get my speed square. Dang it. So there we go. You see we got about 1 inch here, just like we had on the other one. Sorry for the echo. Like I said, we're in the garage. I don't have a fancy workshop, so it is what it is. So now, this should be the same measurement as it is across the top of this door, right? So 36 inches. Actually 35 3/4 puts us there. So I'll probably just go a titch over, maybe a 1/16 or an 1/8. So what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 eighths. 35 7/8 on this top board, and then we'll come and dry fit that and make sure that that fits. And then we'll start to get this thing tapped in. Well, nope, not yet. Well, yeah, we can tack this together, but before I do that, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's measure out 35 7/8, dry fit this, and then we'll go from there. There you go, 35 7/8 fits like a glove. So now we got the basic frame dry fit together, right? So now we got a couple more things we have to do. And this is where it gets a little confusing for me, being the newbie that I am. On that side are where the hinges are. So I think what I'm going to do next is we're going to stand this door up. Maybe I might try to do it laying down. I'm going to mark where those hinges go on that side of the frame, and then I'm going to use a router to route out the space for the 4-inch hinges. So let me see if I can figure this out real quick, and yeah, and then I'll show you. So just like I did with these, I got it in place. This is still nice and flush at the top, so I'm just going to go with my pencil and I'm going to mark where the edge of the hinges are, all the way up and down. And then I'm going to get the hinges out of the bag, set them in place, and then I'll make my marks around that. Because I could measure all day and still be wrong. So there you go. I got my basic marks here, and I'll grab those hinges and then we'll mark it out. Okay, so we're saying, I'm just going to use the table, I mean the door. Alright, so this is going to be the inside. I guess I probably need to make these marks with the speed square first. Let me do that real quick. Alright, so these hinges are going to go, this is the inside, right? If you just go look at your door, you'll see how it goes, right? So this part goes right here. So I got that lined up, top and bottom. And then I'm going to just make a mark along here. So that's where my hinge is going to set into the door. And now I got to measure this. I bet you I could look on the instructions. I'll figure it out. Hold on. Of course, the package doesn't quite say what it is. It tells you what size 7/64 pilot holes to drill. It's good for doors up to 1 3/8 thick. It's a 4-inch hinge, but it doesn't tell you how to do that. So just looking on the tape measure here, it's less than 1/8 thick. So I'll probably go just a titch less than 1/8 on that router, and we'll route this out. But let me mark these other 3 out. We'll get it set up on the sawhorses, and we'll see how we go from there. Okay, so I do not have a micrometer, I guess is what it's called. I don't know, but I can't measure this real well. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of setting that there and kind of calling that good enough. I think that's going to be deep enough. I don't think it even really matters if we take too much out of this. Again, I'd rather not take a whole bunch and have a little left over and have to come back and redo it than not. So let's see how this goes. This is my first time using this guy. Wowzer. Where have you been all my life? Let's see how that goes. Nope. A little too short. I got to take out the lines. Okay. Do it again. Oh yeah, look at that. I mean, that's perfectly flush. Now I got to square that up. That's a little too long, I think. Well, no. I got to get that little corner. So maybe just a chisel, or maybe I just go long in that corner. Here we go. I like it. Alright, now I'm just going to repeat that 2 more times. I mean, that depth is perfect right there. I mean, I might have to clean some of this little fuzzy fuzz out, but I mean, that's perfectly flush, so I like it. Alright, let me do this 2 more times, and then we'll keep cracking. Still on the garage floor. What we're going to do next is we're going to connect this top piece of the frame to the side pieces. Like I said, I checked to make sure these fit. They fit nice and flush in there. We'll come back later and we'll screw these in, and we'll screw them to the door just to make sure everything lines up right. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to screw it and I'm going to nail it, just because I don't know which one's better, so I might as well do both. So I'm going to use these number 10 1.5" exterior screws, and I'm also going to use these 1.25" well, I don't even know what these ones are called. Crown nails. You can see staples. You can see the kind of horseshoe shaped or U-shaped. And I've done a test fit on those scraps that I cut off. You can see a couple of screws, a couple of those. I mean, it's tight as a tick. So I like it. It probably wouldn't hurt to put some wood glue in there as well. So let me grab the wood glue. We'll come back. We're going to use this little guy. I got this, of course, you know, my favorite place, Harbor Freight. It's just a corner holder, so it'll hold those corners together. And then I'm going to use this neat little thing that I got from Jerry. So it's got the drill bit on one side. Well, if I can get it in there. It's got the drill bit on one side, and then you just flip it around, and it's got the attachment for the screws. So the drill bit, and I can countersink, so it'll countersink a little bit, so my screws don't get hung up on the outside. So let me get this all set up in this little jig, get some glue on it, and let's go to town. Okay, I just have the door standing on the edge. Again, I'm not in a fancy workshop. I'm working on the floor of the garage. As you can see, my 4-inch hinge sits in here perfectly. This is the inside. So this side of the hinge is what's going to hook to the frame that we just finished. And then we're going to connect this to the door using all 4 of these screw holes. And I always go backwards just for a second, just to get myself a little pilot hole started, so things don't start shifting around once I start to go. So backwards, couple little, and then that way I go in, feel it sit nice and tight. It keeps it from splitting. Something I picked up from, I don't know who I picked that up from, the Canadian guy. There you go, nice and flush here, nice and flush along the front, and we got just a titch of a gap on the back, maybe a 1/16 of an inch. So that's it, easy breezy. Let me go put these other 2 on, and then we'll come back and we'll get this thing attached to the frame. For this, I'm having to get creative. So as you can see, that's the frame standing on its side. I got the sawhorse holding up one side, the other side's down on the ground, and I got some 2x4s underneath the door to kind of hold it up so that I can get the hinges flush with the frame. So here I have my cutouts, what we did with the router earlier. So I'm just going to hold that up. Got my screw. Just like before, backwards a titch, and forward a titch. And my hinge is nice and secure along the edge of the board. And they're all nice and flush. The hinge is nice and flush against the edge of this door. Against the edge of the frame. So we should be in good shape theoretically. Now let me do the other 2 hinges and we'll see how she does. Okay, just trudging right along here. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to cut out the door stops. So the things that are going to stop the door when it tries to close. So that's where this table saw comes in handy. Of course, you can still do it with a circular saw if you want. You could just, draw your line and rip it down 1 inch. But since I have this guy, we'll go ahead and use it. So I double check to make sure that my gauge here matches up and that my blade is actually 1 inch in the front and 1 inch in the back. So we're all good there. So now it's just time to fire it up and get it cut. Alright, well, let's see how we did. 1 inch on the money, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Alright, this board's a little warped, as you can probably see right there. It's got a nice little bow in it, so I know there are people cringing as my hand was coming up close. I was cringing too. I was right there with you. So, not the preferred technique, but again, I had to do what I had to do to get this crooked warped board cut. So, big knot there, so I'm going to go back on that same line I was just on and cut one more for the other side. Yes sir, 1 inch. Still warped, but that's okay. And then let's see how wide this guy is. 1.5. I might just leave this 1.5 piece and use that across the top just to give us a little better stopping power up there. If not, I'll just cut this piece down and we'll go from there. So let's go back inside the garage and figure out how we're going to attach these bad boys. Okay, I almost forgot about this vinyl door seal that we're going to install as well. So what I'm going to do, because I want this white strip here that you see to kind of fit in between the door stop and the actual frame itself. So what I've done, I've been kind of messing around with this blade, and I got it set on some scrap pieces so that I'm going to essentially trim the blade width and about 1/4 inch deep to take out just a sliver along the edge here, so that when I put it in, I have somewhere to put this little white piece, and then I can secure it behind it with some staples, and I'll probably run the screws through that too once I connect it to the frame of the cabin. So let me do that real quick, and then we'll get these things installed. Going this way, going that way. Well, that's not working out too well, because this piece of wood is bowed. So as you can see, I kept missing pieces. Worked out great at the beginning. It's not pretty, but I think it'll work. All right, let me do the other one. All right, that one was better. Of course, you know, the second time I got it figured out. So let me pop this off. We'll go over there and test fit it and see how it does. All right, I think we're getting in the home stretch. So here's that little gap that we just cut on the saw to make space for the seal. I put a couple screws down just to give me a little bit of space, because I have to have room between this door stop and the actual door to have room for that seal, because it's pretty thick. So I'm thinking 1/4 inch, but I'm not trying to measure it. I'm just trying to get where I think I need to be. So that's why I'm just using these screws all the way down, and then I'm going to nail it in place and go from there. So here goes nothing. And I'm just going to slide those screws out, maybe, if they'll come out. If not, when I open the door, they'll come out. But yeah, so I'm sorry I skipped a step. I cut this down to 80 inches so it matches up with the bottom of the door too. So that's it. A little bit of space, a little gap for the for that seal, and yeah, there you go. Now we just got to figure out how we're going to do the top and the side, because this side was easy because the hinges are here, so I know this isn't going to go up and down. That all depends over there, and up here you probably can't appreciate on the camera from that angle, but this side is probably, I don't know, it's that far down, but over here it's, I mean, my whole finger goes down because the door is just slanted down. So I think what I might do is measure this gap right here and see if that's consistent all the way down. 3/8. Can't tell from that side. Oh yeah, no, that's more like 1/2 inch. So I'm gonna have to play with this a little bit and try to figure out how are we gonna get those on there without standing this door up. Or maybe that's the move. Maybe we just stand the door up, figure out where we want it to stop, and go from there. So let me think about this, drink some water, we'll come back. All right, after some tinkering around, I think I got it figured out. So what I've done is put these 2x4s at each corner to hold it flush, because on the back side, and once I stood it up and I looked, the back side where those hinges are is pretty much flush. The frame and the door are pretty much flush. So I put these 2x4s here to flush this all up so that the door and the frame are flush. And then I'm going to do the same thing. You can see how bowed this board is. It's just sitting here right now, but it's pretty wickedly bowed. So I might have to disconnect one end and then come back and do some magic down there. But I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to set these screws underneath there just to give me a little space. Again, my side that I cut to make room for the seal is down. I'm going to set these screws here. And then I'm just going to make sure that we stay flush and true all the way down, right? So I'm making sure the back of the door is still flush with this frame. And then I'm going to squeeze this over, bring my screw. You see that bottom kicked out, but that's okay. I knew that was coming. So I have a little gap, and I'm going to just tack this right here. And I'm probably going to come down here to the middle just to try to straighten it out. Again, I'm going to feel right here to make sure the door and the frame are flush. And they are. I got my little spacer right there with my screw. Hold that tight. Tack that in place. And then last but not least, let's get this guy in place. Again, making sure this is all flush. So this one I'm having to lift the door a titch. And now I'm just going to come back and do several of these little guys just to make sure we don't go anywhere. There you go. We still got our little gap. Everything's good to go. We got our door stop. And then I just have to install the top piece. Just got to cut that down to size. And I'll do the exact same thing on that and we should be good to go. So that's all we can do here. As you see, we got the frame on. I scabbed a little piece at the bottom just to hold these together because we got to wait until we get to the mountain to put the actual the threshold on. So yeah, let's pack all this stuff up. Let's head up onto the mountain. Let's get this bad boy installed and see how she works. There you go, friends. Pretty easy breezy, and it didn't take much longer than the 30 minutes that you see in the video. A couple fast forwards here and there. A couple times the battery died on me. Again, it was cheap batteries I got, but not much longer than that. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward process, and I guess part of, you know, aside from the fact that I actually needed a frame, was just to show you that, you know, if I can do that with just these basic tools, the job site table saw, a circular saw, a nail gun, some screws and some glue on the garage floor, that you can as well. Like I said, there's lots of videos out there that I guess professionals or more professional woodworkers have doing this kind of thing, and they make it way easier than this. However, it can be done with just those simple tools. So thanks for checking out the video. Like I said, if I can do it, you can do it. So don't feel like it's, you know, smoke and mirrors here. As always with all of our videos, I show you everything: the failures, the successes, the head scratching, all of it. So yeah, so it's been an absolute blessing year for us. Last year, 2022, was great. We did about 8-9 months of work. We're coming up on our year mark since we first broke ground, picked a spot, and did all that stuff. And we're absolutely ecstatic, beyond joyed that we are where we are. We have you along with us. I mean, that's half the joy for us, is that we can share this journey with you and share our mistakes and our triumphs. So it's just blessings. God has put his hand on us and has blessed us, and we hope he has with you as well. So as always, if you like this video, hit the little like button, the thumbs up down there. Like, subscribe if you like the channel. Go back and look at some of our other videos. Look way over there, hit that little bell icon so you know when we post new content. It'll send up a little dingy ding. And then of course, look up this way, we're going to post a new video. It'll probably be the next video that shows us actually installing this door at the mountain. So make sure you check that out. So thanks for coming. As always, we're beyond blessed, and till next time, be safe.